I'm Carla Reeves, and this is Differently, the Lifepreneur podcast. I'm a hyperachiever turned lifepreneur, and after a decade of coaching ambitious leaders, I'm convinced we are far closer than we realize to what we deeply desire, and it's a willingness to do differently that can change everything. This podcast is for the everyday leader ambitious for a rich, out-of-the-box life. This is your weekly nudge and reminder to take a risk to build a life that is uniquely bold, authentic, and in alignment with your deepest values. Hey, Differently listeners. I'm excited to spend a little time with you. There are often themes that come up during a week or a month of coaching calls. And I want to start sharing those with you. And a theme that has been coming up lately is this. I have been hearing myself and my clients say things like, I need to spend less time on my phone, or I get lost in my phone and it has this negative impact on my mood, or I get on Instagram scrolling and I fall into this comparison and feel like what I'm doing isn't enough. And on and on and on. I don't know about you, but I've been really noticing that I don't feel so great after getting sucked into the vortex of scrolling. And I've even heard my adult sons talk about taking breaks from their phone, or even one day a desire to not have a phone at all. After a call with a client this week, I knew I had to share this with you. And inside of what I've been hearing from myself and others around me, and even on coaching calls, there is an awareness and a desire, but often little action that follows. This past week, a client and I were talking about internal nudges. So internal nudges are those things you feel or hear inside of you, like you're hearing from God or your higher wisdom. And she said that hers has literally been screaming at her to get off her phone. When that inner voice of wisdom is screaming, it's time to listen. She went on to tell me that her friend who'd gotten off of social media for 2 weeks told her that she never felt happier. She described it as unburdened and free. And by the way, she gave me permission to share this with you. What if we saw the increasing number of distractions in our world as an invitation or an opportunity to awaken us? I'm going to say that again. What if we saw the increasing number of distractions in our world as an invitation or an opportunity to awaken us? Instead of being lulled into autopilot and mindless activity and stimulation, what if we chose differently? I was in Target a week or so ago and standing in line, and I saw this mom and little girl in front of me. And the mom was standing at her cart with her phone in her hand, just like completely absorbed in scrolling on her phone. And her little girl is by her side saying, Mommy, look at this, and asking her a question. And I'm telling you, it was grueling to watch because the little girl just proceeded to call out for her mom to tell her something. And the mom just couldn't peel herself away from the phone. It kind of broke my heart. There's something here, and we live in a world where social media and our phones, they play a big part in our world and in our life and in our work and in how we connect with people and family and more. And there's a lot of good, right? I think the answer lies not in abandoning our phones and social media, but in really taking responsibility for the way that we want to feel and the kind of life that we want to live and how we want to be present for the people around us, and make sure that we align our actions accordingly. What would be possible if you brought more intention to your time on your phone and social media? Because of all of this thinking I've been doing about this lately, I've taken a bit of a step back to think about how I want to show up on the platform. I don't want to add noise to the space. I want to be authentic, although sometimes it's hard to juggle sharing photos of spending time all as a family, while also sharing the heartbreak I might have as a mom, letting go of my sons who are grown and heading off into their own lives. I'm sure you grapple with things like this too. All the things you deeply want: space to breathe, calm, being present with loved ones, quality time and experiences, time to read or be more creative or write, build a closer connection, relationship to God. These all live in a space of our lives that is free of distraction. Don't lose sight of this or the ability to enjoy it, despite a world that is luring us to forget it. I believe you're different and that you desire more for your life, and I want to invite you to do differently. Try an experiment just to see what happens. Like my client's friend who took 2 weeks to be off her phone and felt unburdened and free. Create some experiment for yourself that works for you in your life. I can't wait to hear about it. All of this in the spirit of doing differently, and it applies to our social technology life as well. I would love to hear about your experiment. If you want to reach out to me through my website, carlareeves.com. I hope you have a beautiful day and a great week, and I will see you next time. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Differently. I hope it stirred your thinking, and I invite you to take one inspired action from something that stood out to you. If you want to hear more conversations like this, hit follow on your favorite podcast app. And if this episode could impact someone you know, please share it and pass it along. Remember, new episodes drop weekly. See you next week.